Ladies and gentlemen, the last Thunderdome edition of SmackDown is in the books. This is your SmackDown recap show. I am the OG Fit Kid, Thomas Montalto.
And it is time to turn your attention to the Titantron, Anthony Cerulli here at your service.
How you doing, Anthony?
I am doing great. The weather outside is not too great, but thankfully we had a good SmackDown to make up for it. So I'm looking forward to get right into this.
You know, I thought it was a really good episode. And to me, the only thing missing was a live crowd.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, it would have been even, it would have been a great episode with a live crowd. You just notice it lately so much more. And speaking of live crowds, I noticed, to start the show off, WWE really had the Roman sucks chance turned up, trying to get the people ready to boo him next week. Did you catch that?
Yeah, they were right before even he cut his promo. I'm guessing that's what they're hoping for once fans come back. But I don't know what you're thinking, but I don't think Roman's going to get as much booze as they're hoping that he will get. Just everything that he's been doing. He might even get a few cheers,
Oh, I think so. I don't think they know what to expect. I think they're afraid that that he's going to be cheered. And we did a video last week about, thoughts on what happens if he is cheered and how he can handle it. And if you haven't checked that video out, go back and check it out. And we did some booking for Roman. But so they start off with their promo, and instantly that jumps off the screen to me is there's Jimmy Uso, no punishment. I don't understand. What's up, Tyson? How you doing tonight? I don't understand why, and we're not going to just harp on this, but why a DUI is not in a wellness policy when it's, a major issue, like, hidden, domestic violence is, but you could go and put somebody's life at danger for drinking behind the wheel, and you don't get anything. You get to start off the show and continue to be in the main storyline on the show. But we're not here for that. We're here to review the episode. What do you think of the opening segment?
Oh, I thought the segment was, it's common knowledge at this point, but anything that Roman's involved in, it's going to be gold. And, I didn't even realize that they were kind of hyping up that Jey Uso was out for a while. I didn't even realize, I guess, because they've been putting more of a focus on Jimmy. But I mean, everything, I guess this finally shows that they're like united with all the tension between them. So as far as it stands right now, we have the whatever you want to call them, the bloodline, the whatever they want to, the family. It seems like they're fully united, which is very good going into Money in the Bank and going into crowds and everything. And I'm looking forward to it. It's a long time coming that we're getting like a proper heel Roman with heel Usos. And you add Paul Heyman in there, and it's just a match made in heaven. So, yeah, everything with the opening segment tonight was great, and it played up very well going into the rest of the show.
Yeah, I agree. I really like seeing them actually come together and all be on the same page. I think it's much needed, and it just makes the story seem more legit with the family being like that. And then, so we'll see. So next up, we move on to the Nakamura Corbin match for the Money in the Bank, and solid match, but I'm just tired of seeing them wrestle every week. I hope this is the end of it for now. But we get to see Nakamura move on. We knew I figured he was going to win again. I don't know what they're doing with Corbin and that, whole depressed storyline. And he's,
honestly, it's probably the most interesting Baron Corbin's been in years. Like, this is the most that they could have done with him, and just to make him depressed, that's a horrible way to make him interesting. But I mean,
well, I tell you what, he is playing it well.
Oh, definitely.
I just hope that I want to see it start to go somewhere already and see where it's leading. And
right, it looks like it's
trying to get him some sympathy. Yeah, but it looks like so. So now we got Nakamura moving on to the Money in the Bank match. We'll touch on the whole match in a little bit. But any further thoughts on that?
I like what they're doing with Corbin and Nakamura. This whole story. I get like the whole idea of like they wrestle every week, but I like that they're doing stuff different each week. Like there's a little something different. Even this week with having McAfee and Big E on the couch, I compared it to kind of like Statler and Waldorf of the Muppets, where they have like their mics and they were kind of bantering that. I thought that was so great. I think as long as they pull off rematches and they do something different each time, then I'm fine with them doing, just different, Nakamura and Corbin, because it's a feud after all. So they're going to have to wrestle a few times. But yeah, it's kind of getting a little overkill. At least now there's a little bit of a direction for Corbin, but now it just becomes what's going to happen now.
And Tyson Trevino makes a good point, which is probably where they're leading. Corbin is going to be a babyface once this is over, and it certainly looks that's the way they're headed. You've gotten him some sympathy, trying to get the crowd on his side, and I guess we'll see how they react come next week when there's a live crowd back in front of the SmackDown roster. So from there, we went to a pleasant surprise. We see them starting to restock the women's division on SmackDown. We had Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart make their debut against the tag team champions in Natalya and Tamina. So what'd you think of there?
Oh, great. I'm so happy that the two of them got called up. They're two of my favorites down in NXT. I think they have like if any of them, I think they have just the strongest person, especially Shotzi. I knew that she was going to get called up right when she debuted in NXT. Everything with the tank, the green hair, everything. I knew that that's like main roster prime right there. And then you add in Tegan Nox. She just came back from injury. I'm actually surprised. I thought that she was going to stay in NXT, especially with the return that she just had against Candice and Indy. But you know what? I'm honestly okay with it. I guess they figured like Ember Moon kind of wanted to stay in NXT after the abysmal main roster run she had. So I think that's probably better off for everyone if she stays down in NXT because she's doing well down there. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be I don't know if they're going to keep them as a tag team for a while. They might have just done it as a kind of way to bring them up together. I think we'll definitely get a tag team title match. Don't think they'll give it to them. Think they'll eventually split them up. But for now, I'm cool with them as a tag team. They kind of have a similar vibe. And I'm looking forward to what they're doing. And it's much needed on SmackDown, especially with, I'm sure we're going to talk about Bayley getting injured and, firing Ruby Riott. It was much needed to bring up some NXT women. So I'm glad that these are the two that they decided to bring up.
Yeah, and as J-Bone agrees with you, saying it's weird that you see Tegan getting called up with the recent return, but I love the push. I love that they went over the women's champions. I'm hoping that they get another match and they win the belts and take it off of them, and let's see them run with it for a little bit. It's very entertaining. We also got to see a little bit later in the show, Toni Storm is coming to SmackDown, so another like exciting announcement for the women's division on SmackDown. And actually, seeing these ladies called up, I'm so glad it's going to be on SmackDown at this point because I don't want them involved with what's going on the Raw side of the women's division right now.
And it's weird because if anything, I feel like we should want them to go to Raw because Raw needs a boost in the women's division, but it just feels like anything you add into Raw, it just gets sucked into this abysmal trash can that just keeps piling on more trash as people come. It's like Rhea Ripley. Like we expected Rhea Ripley to win the title and it was just going to save Raw. And now she's back to feuding with Charlotte and it's horrible. So if anything, it's probably best that they put the three of them on SmackDown. Bianca needs some challengers. So I think all of them could really give her a run for her money if built up properly, especially Toni Storm. I think that's going to be a great storyline if they build up to it. And, I was honestly hoping that Toni was going to be the replacement for Bayley. I think that could have been a way to kind of add more interest in if they were going to do it on next week's SmackDown like they're doing, kind of do Toni Storm versus Bianca Belair as like this special attraction match. But we'll talk about what happened with that match later on. But yeah, damn, I'm looking forward to seeing Toni Storm. She's great.
Yeah.
She's great in the ring. And I'm looking forward to it.
I agree. Toni Storm is one of my favorites. Tyson Trevino is saying probably they'll do a blow-off match between Nox and Lareya NXT, which I'm sure they're not going to just totally drop it. But I agree. Toni Storm, I'm so excited. I hope she gets a run with the belt finally because she never get to capture it down in NXT. She had the women's NXT, UK NXT belt, right?
Right.
It's nice. I want to see her get the shot. I think she's going to be a star. I think she's the type of wrestler that Vince is going to love. kind of like Alexa Bliss when she got called up. She never really did much down in NXT, but she got the huge push when she got to the same roster, to the main roster. So I think we're going to see the same thing from Toni Storm. I'm hoping.
Absolutely.
Jonathan Ahola says it's time for a women's secondary title. I don't think so. I think there's too many titles as it is.
Yeah.
There's not enough women
cross-branded, but there's not enough women for it.
No, there's not enough women for it. If anything, I want to see less. I'd rather see the women's title combined into one, and most of the titles for that point. So let's go down the card in order so I could follow my notes here and not get lost. Okay, so yeah, Bayley's hurt. It sucks to see Bayley get hurt because she's been on such a run as of late with her promos, with her in-ring work. I hope as she's recuperating, they'll keep her on the air and maybe have her doing her ding dong hello shows. And
right,
because she's just too entertaining right now. And they've started doing that lately with the injured stars. And then maybe, a little before her return, they keep her off of television for 2 months and have her come back and make an Impact return. But man, talk about, terrible timing for Bayley.
Yeah. It's horrible. She was definitely probably like throughout the entire pandemic era, before the Thunderdome, during the Thunderdome, she had to have been the best, like one of the MVPs, if not literally. Just on SmackDown, just in WWE in general, from everything she did with the women's title, the feuds with Sasha, she was just great. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that I'm very much hoping, I'm sure everyone is too, that they do keep her on TV in some capacity. Maybe even trying to kind of transition her into a GM role. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, they don't really have like a set role. They're kind of just like the authority figures on both Raw and SmackDown. With the crowds coming back, I think this is a perfect opportunity to finally have your definitive general managers and have Bayley as your SmackDown general manager. And while we're at it, and we want to keep the trend of injured superstars being GMs, put the Miz as your Raw general manager, break him away from John Morrison. And now you kind of have that dynamic. Of course, I'm doing fantasy booking here, so I'm not going to go off too on a tangent. But, I think it's just they need to make sure that they keep Bayley on screen, like the ding dong hello or whatever else she's going to do. But I think she'll be fine. I'm really hoping that the injury isn't as long as 9 months and she could be back for, WrestleMania at the very least. But, we're just going to have to wait and see. It's heartbreaking, but it sucks.
Maybe a surprise entrant into the Women's Royal Rumble.
That would be excellent. That would be so great.
That's how I'd like to see it happen. So next week, I guess Bianca's taken off of the Money in the Bank card, but we're going to see Carmella get the shot in front of a live crowd against Bianca Belair. That'll be interesting to see. I think Bianca's going to go over. They're not taking the belt off of her yet. I actually thought Bayley was probably going to win the match at the pay-per-view. So I guess plans are going to change. We haven't seen Sasha. Is she going to return next week and maybe cost someone the match? So it'll be curious to see where that goes next week. But I'm loving Liv Morgan right now. I love the role she's on. I'm loving her in the ring. I'm loving her promos. I thought she was great tonight. So the women's division's getting a little exciting over on SmackDown again.
Yeah,
they're finally pushing her. What do you think of Liv?
Oh, Liv Morgan, she's been great. I was ever since they were doing like those little vignettes for her at like the end of 2019. Everyone was really hoping for like a Liv Morgan singles run. And then everything with like Rusev happened, and then Lana, and then they just put her up with Ruby Riott again, and that was it. So I think this is now her time to really go in on a singles run, and she's we've already seen she could definitely hold her own as a single star. I was even I know that it's probably not going to happen, but with everything that's happening with Carmella and Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville, this feud is investing me in enough where if they were to just pull a long shot here and give Carmella that title next week and then give Liv Morgan the Money in the Bank, I would be very invested in that just because of what they've done for the last few weeks of kind of hyping up Carmella as this very lucky to just be put in these positions, whereas Liv Morgan is working her way up, climbing the ladder literally to get the Money in the Bank. So this is a good story that they have here. If they wanted to go full in on it, do it, give them the gold, give them the briefcase, and let them run. Even a SummerSlam match could be interesting. Of course, I don't think they're going to do that because, they haven't really built up either of them to have that main roster spot. But hey, if I was running things, I would really go all in on this. If this is your women's feud that you've been hyping up for weeks now, screw it. Go for it.
Yeah, and J-Bo making an excellent point here. We need more storylines that don't revolve around just the title to elevate women.
Absolutely.
And I feel like you need that for the entire show, both shows. You go to a pay-per-view and almost every match is a title match. I want to see more grudge matches, people just in feuds. And that's one of the reasons why I want to see titles start to be combined. So that's an excellent point, J-Bone. And I would like to see that all around. It would make sense for the women, but it makes sense for the whole roster. Let's make Night of Champions the night where they combine all the titles again. Let's stop having the brand splits. It's not a true brand split. I mean, I for one don't feel like it's a true brand split. I just feel like it's just titles on different shows.
Yeah.
The true brand splits NXT and then Raw SmackDown. To me, that's how I feel it.
Yeah.
So let's move on then. We had Seth versus Cesaro in another match. But the nice surprising thing, we got to see Cesaro having some color showing. What do you think of that? I kind of think that was a spot. I wonder if Vince is trying to answer AEW a little bit and says, if people want blood, I'm going to give blood. It flowed beautiful.
I mean, I think that was the most interesting part of the match, to be honest with you. And I'll touch base on that, if they were to go in that direction, go for it. You're having fans back. You want that excitement. If any, show to do it and pull it off well, it's got to be SmackDown. Spots like that are, like we're talking about it right now, it gets a good reaction out of us. So might as well start doing it. But then, with that, I feel like that was the only really important thing out of this match because, like we've been saying, it's just a lot of rematches. I compare it to like Nakamura and Corbin because at least they're doing something to make that feud interesting in the rematches. Whereas this feud is just dragging on and it's the same stuff every time. And you've already set the bar so high at WrestleMania, at least in my eyes, one of the better matches on the card at that WrestleMania. It's not going to be able to top that match. And this was just like another example of it. It was just a bland match. It did its job in getting Seth that Money in the Bank spot, but I wasn't really buying into it that much. They're always going to do good in the ring, but again, I'm comparing it to the rematches and it was what it was.
Yeah. So we see Turnbuckle, Tavern, and J-Bone. We all want more blood,
Yeah.
We definitely do. Blood makes it better.
Yep.
Tyson Trevino, you want blood? You got up at AC/DC. So then we get to the where we differ is I'm just so tired of the Baron Corbin Shinsuke Nakamura thing. Like I feel that's played out as well. It just seemed like we've seen those same two matches way too much. Like maybe space it out a little more, but I do want to see where the whole thing with Corbin is going. So then we cut back to the promo with Seth in the back, which I thought he was gold. I love that. I kind of have a feeling after seeing our promo and Edge interrupting it, we're looking at a Seth Rollins Edge match for SummerSlam.
Yes.
What do you think of that whole promo?
Seth is gold. He's been so great ever since this new character change. I don't even know what this new character is. He's kind of just like this oddball, but I'm buying into it. This is one of the best Seth Rollins that we've seen in a while. I feel like he just took his Messiah gimmick and just went completely crazy with it and started wearing suits. And this is a great place for him. And what's even better is now that Edge and Seth are on the same brand, now we get to have some closure on this feud that's basically been going since that spot with the Authority, and he almost stomped on Edge's neck with the Money in the Bank. People have been talking about it for years, and now it's finally great that we're in a situation where at SummerSlam we can kind of put the nail in the coffin with this whole feud and do Edge versus Seth Rollins in a huge dream match. I was kind of talking about it on my live show I did before on the Bench Sports app, and I was saying that with everything between Edge and Roman, you could even go in the route where you give Seth Rollins that Money in the Bank. And if you wanted to, give Edge the title, which I know that they probably won't, but Edge versus Seth Rollins for the Universal title at SummerSlam, that's another very interesting match that they could go in that direction if they wanted to go all in on it. But I think still having just Seth Rollins be involved in that match with Edge and Roman Reigns, maybe even costing Edge the match by just attacking him, that'll set up the match because, like we know, Seth wanted that match with Roman originally, and then Edge just swooped in and said, I want that match. And that kind of leads us to where we are now. So, hey, I think anything that they do between Seth and Seth and Edge, it's going to be gold. The promos are going to be great. The in-ring action at SummerSlam is going to be great. And I think it's a definite that we're going to get that match. I feel like that's easy to say.
I think they kind of dictated that tonight. We could see that that's where it's heading. And like you said, they can go a couple of ways. It can be, Seth versus Edge for the title. And then you have Roman face, Cena again. And you have another big match without even having a title on the line. Either way, it's going to work that, you see a couple of big matches lining up for SummerSlam. Like, I think Seth Rollins and Edge is a great way to go for SummerSlam.
Right.
Let's see what's next. Okay. Oh yeah, I can't wait to see Seth interact with the fans. And we talked about the fans actually coming out and applauding, maybe cheering Roman. I have a feeling Seth might be over a big time with the fans next week because he's more entertaining now than he's been in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be, I can't wait to see how, and even if the fans boo him, he's going to be great interacting with the fans no matter what they do.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to that. So the Money in the Bank match is now set. We have all 8 competitors. We have Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, Seth Rollins, and Big E. It's going to be an interesting, Money in the Bank match. You look at it and you think, wow, I think he can win. No, wait, I think he can win. So, I don't know who's going to win it. We'll leave that. We'll do a Money in the Bank pre-show at some point next week. Maybe we'll make it part of our SmackDown recap.
I'm looking forward to that one. I got a lot of big predictions about Money in the Bank, so we'll hold that for next week, I would say.
Awesome. So after that, we had the Edge and Roman face off tonight, and him telling the Usos to stay in the back, and apparently they didn't listen. What'd you think of the ending tonight?
I loved it, honestly. I also really just love that we're putting the Mysterios in a position where they're actually treated like they should be treated, because it felt like so long, at least for the majority of this Thunderdome pandemic era, that it just felt like it was Rey Mysterio, but it was like a shell of Rey Mysterio. Like they weren't treating him as Lucha, big star 619 Rey Mysterio. So to finally be in a position where he and his son feel like a threat in the tag team division, and as we saw tonight, being presented, to go up against the Usos, I feel like that's just a really great spot for them. And I guess maybe we might be even leading to like a 6-man match next week between these two teams. That would be a big way to bring in the fans, a big main event right there. It would also be really cool to see Edge and Mysterio teaming up again, knowing their history. But yeah, as far as the segment goes tonight, I thought it dragged on a little bit too much towards the end. Going back and forth with the bar. I don't know.
I had looked down at one point when it was going on, and I realized it was only like 9:53, and I'm like, this is going to go on for 7 more minutes?
Like,
really?
I was getting ready to set up for the show, and I was like, wait, Edge is still in the ring. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of weird. I was, I thought it was really badass how Roman wanted to go out there alone, and they made it, seem like he was. You don't usually see that with the villain,
right?
But it kind of, it fits the Roman character. But then, I don't know if I would have sent out the Usos as fast as they did, but I love that, Roman was annoyed with it. So,
yeah,
I guess we'll see. So what would you say your highlight of the night was? Who's your performer, your favorite part of the show tonight? Let me know.
Highlight of the night, I would say honestly, just everything with the women. In a spot where we were not too long ago, where we kind of like, up in the air about the whole, not just the SmackDown women's division, but just the women's division in general, to where we are now tonight, where we bring in 3 new women from NXT, build up Carmella, build up Liv Morgan, we're in a spot right now where it's like I'm excited to see, and we haven't even brought back Sasha Banks yet. Like there's a lot to be excited for with this women's division. So honestly, if you're talking about highlight of the night, I think it's just everything between Liv Morgan, standing up for herself, and just seeing those three, Tony, Tegan, and Shotzi, that they're all going to be involved in SmackDown. As far as like match of the night, honestly, I don't think anything really like stood out about like as far as match wise. I guess Seth and Cesaro, that's usually a given. But I guess the biggest takeaway would just be that we're getting fans next week, and if we get a show that's as half as good as what we saw tonight, with fans, that's only going to enhance it even more. This was a really good week in wrestling overall. From SmackDown tonight to AEW, NXT was a good show. Honestly, wrestling's in a really good spot, and I think this is the perfect time to start bringing fans back in. But as far as SmackDown goes, I'm looking forward to the future of it. And a lot of good things to take away from the show tonight. What do you think? What was your takeaway?
I agree with you. If I had to pick my favorite thing for the night, it is the infusion of the energy into the women's division on SmackDown. That's actually the graphic we chose to go with for this tonight, because it's just exciting. Everything else, like I said, it was a good show. I thought the show would have just been so much better with the live fan energy. And that was the only thing lacking from tonight's SmackDown show. The other thing I think that made it better is we didn't have to see Apollo Crews. I'm tired of that story. That's the one thing I don't like on SmackDown right now. But I'm not here to talk about what I don't like. I thought it was a good show. It seems like they didn't time stuff right. Bad producing. What are you talking about?
The ending. The ending was a little.
Yeah. They probably good point. They probably things probably went a little faster than they had hoped for. Right. Live Pro Wrestling is back. That's what we're looking forward to next Friday for WWE. We see what it's done for AEW. I hope it could have the same impact on WWE. So overall rating, 1 to 5 stars. You can give it a half, 1.5, whatever. What do you give SmackDown tonight?
I'm going to give SmackDown a solid 4. I would give it a 4.5, but I just think the in-ring action kind of dipped it a little bit. But as far as moments goes, moments galore. You include everything with the story between Roman and Edge. Like we said, everything with the women, even the character progression of Baron Corbin now. Everything is looking great for SmackDown. So I think a solid 4 is where I'm at right now. But you look at next week, and honestly, that could be raised up to a 5 if we keep up this level of storytelling. The matches next week, and I'm sure we're going to talk about those next week, the Fatal 4-Way, the Women's Championship, even if we get that 6-man match, it could be some really good matches next week. We could see a 5. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to stick to a 4, maybe a 4.5, but I think I'm going to stay at a 4 right now. What are you thinking?
I'm going to give it a solid 3.5. Because I thought it was a solid show. The fact that we had to see the Seth Rollins Cesaro again and another Nakamura Corbin match is what made it a little less for me. Yeah, Tyson Trevino giving it 4 stars. So maybe I'm being a little more critical than most.
No, that's a good reason for it, though. The rematches just kill it.
Yeah, if there's a crowd there, it's easily a 4 to maybe 4.5 star show to me. I don't want to hand out 5s too easy, because you go back to Dynamite this week, that was a 5-star show. That show was lit a whole night, but it was an excellent show. J-Bone giving it 3 stars, being even tougher than me. Wow, you're a tough one there, J-Bone. But it was a great show, man. It was very solid. It's it doesn't help that the Thunderdome is just played out. We know the fans are back, next week. That's what we're here for. We want the fans. I can't wait to recap next week's show.
That's what I was going to say. SmackDown is must see, but also Turnbuckle Tavern SmackDown recap with the 2 handsome fellows right here are very must see as well next week.
That's right. Make sure you tune in. We want to know what you have to say. We love your comments. We'll read them. Give us feedback. Let us know if you agree with us or if you don't agree with us. That's what we're here for. Anthony, plug yourself. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh, thank you very much, OG. You can find me at on Instagram at the Titantron podcast, as well as on Twitter at @the_Titantron. I have a live radio show that I host every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on the Bench Sports app, where we basically do this. We just talk about wrestling for a half hour. You can also buy some merch. I'm not wearing it right now, but head on over to the Titantron podcast.creator-spring.com. It's a lot to remember. It's probably in a bio somewhere in my profile, but you can buy some one-of-a-kind merchandise, and you're going to be seeing this face a lot more often on these SmackDown reviews. I'm very happy to be your co-host, and we're going to be having some fun here after SmackDown, so make sure to turn your attention to the Turnbuckle Tavern.
Thank you for the support, J-Bone. And Anthony is right, man. This is going to be fun. We'll be here every week as long as our schedules allow. I love what Anthony's bringing to the show. I so look forward to working with him every Friday night and doing this. Tyson, thank you so much. Great recap, guys. See you guys for the next one. Spread the word, guys. Let people know we're here. I am the OGFigKid. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheOGFigKid. The Turnbuckle Tavern. You get all of our links at theTurnbuckleTavern.com. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. Turn on a notification so you know when we're going live. We have more videos coming. Tomorrow, we're going to see a special Road Warrior talking about their legacy. Me and Mike Belcaster recorded it the other day. Can't wait for you guys to see that one. Thank you for joining us. Until the end of SmackDown next week, we will see you guys then.